everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Javier in the Air. So, today's podcast is just going to be not that short, but it's still going to be sweet anyway. So, I'm going to have a couple of projects. I'm going to have a question at the end, and then I'm doing a lot of brewery because I just got back from Meanwhile Brewery that my brother Robert and I went to. It's in South Austin, by the way. Very awesome setup. It's a great place to take your friends, take your family if you're in Austin and you're visiting. Um, Great location, lot of room, lot of space, and we'll talk about beers in the podcast itself, in the recordings that I did. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go straight over to the projects, and I have a couple that I want to show you that I'm working on, and I'll talk a little bit about them in there. So let's go to the projects. Okay, so in preparation of a brunch that I'm doing in 2 weeks, brunch will be out in the backyard. It will be socially distanced, and just about everyone that I know of has either their first or their second dose already of the vaccine. So this is something called a German apple pancake that I wanted to try out before I actually got into the uh, brunch itself. So this was a pancake made inside of a 10-inch iron skillet, thanks to my great grandmother for the iron skillet. And it's just a pancake. And what I did here is I threw some apples in a another skillet on top of the oven, and added some coconut sugar, added some vanilla, some pumpkin pie spice, and I let them bake or actually cook over low heat until they got soft. And then I poured that on top of the pancake, cut it right inside the skillet itself, and just did fantastic. It turned out to be a real winner. It's relatively easy to make, so I will be making this for the brunch as well as some other items, which I will bring you once we have that brunch. So let's go on to the next project. And here's the next project. This one is really near and dear to my heart. So this is the reason why I started the podcast in the first place. So um, the 100 Days of Beer. I didn't collect beer cans for all of them, and some of the labels were actually just plastic overlays on top of a can, so you really didn't get much out of it. But I decided to put it up against a 3/4 inch plywood, and I used brads that I got from Lowe's and the plywood from Lowe's. And I started applying the labels that I did collect, which were about 48. I had two I couldn't do, and this is the end result. I also put 3 layers of shellac on it because I will be keeping this outside in the backyard. So you can see some of the great, fantastic things that I've actually drank, and the different areas. Look, there's 903, there's Austin East Ciders, there's Bishop Company with the Dark Side. I just was showing reviews on that a couple of weeks ago, and last week even. There's some Hopworks, and there's some 6 Point Brewery, and then there's just a lot of the different ones that you probably have never tasted, never even seen if you're just used to doing regular drinking. So it was really cool. It turned out really nice. Once I get it set up in the backyard, you're going to see the finished product itself more in its own element of where I'm going to have it set up. And so I think it turned out really nice. It was a really great project, again, that I really wanted to do over the past year, and I finally got it done. So it turned out really great. Final project for today. This is the bench project. So I had to order a bench, but I couldn't get it in time, so I canceled that order and actually picked this one up for Lowe's. Funny enough, it fits exactly into my truck when you put it in upside down. And so I started applying a stain to a couple of different types of stain to it. So this one is, I put it on the drop cloth and I started sanding it down. I sanded it down and I put on some pre-stain conditioner. What that does is closes some of the pores up so that you get a different, unique look to it when you stain it as opposed to just straight up staining it. And here's the first one. This is incomplete, like I said. So this is the first stain. Now, that purple, you're saying to yourself, that's purple. According to the can, it's called cayenne, and it's supposed to be red. So you tell me what's going on here. Okay, so there you go. There you go. The brunch project, which was complete, prep brunch, I should say, Well, I'm gonna have that brunch, like I said in the voiceover. I'm gonna have that brunch here in 2 weeks, and so that will be Make It on my podcast with all the wonderful, yummy deliciousness that's gonna happen on that day. We had the beer label project, which again was fantastic. It was really near and dear to my heart to get it done. Thanks again for the Brewtique. All those beer labels, by the way, I got those beers from the Brewtique. I want to say thanks again to Scott and Jenna for being there, being a local business that is putting forth some great product. I'm glad you made it through what hopefully is the worst of it all as far as COVID goes. And I hope you continue up with your business. It's going fantastic. I will be out there again. I'm picking up stuff from there constantly. And as you notice, all those beers I would have never have tried if there wasn't a business like the Boutique out there. I guarantee you, I would have just stayed with my IPAs and gone and hit some breweries like I did with Rob today. But I would not have tried the different and variation and everything that I tried. And by the way, that board, it's only half of the number of beers that I did before I started this podcast. So goes to show you that was 100 days. Goes to show you those beer labels. Really fun to do. If anybody wants to do it out there, just let me know. If you want me to do it, you might have to pay for that. But I can tell you exactly how to do it. I think I mentioned in the voiceover what I did. Really easy to do. And so if you have beer labels of cans or cut out of cans that you've been collecting over the years, then I highly recommend it if it's especially if they're just laying around. And I had been collecting them for it'd been almost a year now that they've been sitting on my workbench in my garage, and I finally bit the bullet and said, let's get it done. So I got it done yesterday while I was sitting on my new bench that I hadn't started staining yet. And so which segues into the bench project. So the bench project is going to be used out at the brunch in 2 weeks, and so I wanted to get it in. Lowe's was having difficulty trying to deliver a bench to me, so I finally canceled the order. And they don't deliver from your local Lowe's, by the way. They deliver from some warehouse distribution center, which they couldn't seem to get their act together. And yet there was 20 of them yesterday when I drove by Lowe's, and I just picked one up because I was just finally done with having to get it. Plus, it was already 2 weeks past the date they said it would get here, and it didn't get here. So shame on you, but anyway, you still got my business because I still bought the bench from you guys anyway. So I'm going with the purple legs. They're going to have different stain on different parts of the different boards. So I'll show you the finished project when I did it. Okay, so now we're going to go over to the beer section of it. For those of you who don't like the beer, you can turn it off now, or you can skip to the end for that question that I was going to ask everybody. So went out this morning, early morning. It turns out Meanwhile Brewery also has coffee, and so you can get out there early. If it's a Sunday, like it is today, let's not forget the Texas Blue Laws. Yay! So one, they couldn't serve us until at least 10 a.m. Two, when they did serve us, we had to go and get food at the food truck. This is something that previous person on here, Kristen Burrows, was talking about with our margaritas on Easter Sunday, and how we couldn't get it because of the Texas Blue Laws. So Texas Blue Laws we hit again, and so we had to go right and just walked right around the corner and got some breakfast tacos from a pretty good, decent little truck, which you'll see on the video. And then we had to show them the receipt, and then we could order the beer. So just crazy blue laws that really don't really make sense anymore in this day and age, but they're still on the books, so we have to follow them. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and switch us over to Meanwhile Brewery, and then I'm going to finish up at the end. So there are a lot of videos, but they're kind of short and sweet. We'll throw them all in there. Watch them all if you would, please. See my review and Robert's review of the beers at Meanwhile. If you don't agree with us, great. Be sure and put your comment in the thread, or your comments in the comments after during the review of the podcast at the bottom there. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you agree with us, please let me know that as well. I'd like to get other people's opinion on what I think of beers. I think you'll find this is very, I'm usually heavy thumbed, so to speak, on the high end. and Rob is usually mid-range, low-end. As far as a lot of the beers, he's a little bit more persnickety than I am. However, I think we were both on task with this, and we both hit the same numbers. So if you haven't seen it before, haven't been out there before, this is the Meanwhile Brewery and our take on some of the beers that they had there. So we're out here at Meanwhile Brewing Company. The bro and I decided to go on an adventure this morning and hit the brewery. So we'll see what they got. Here we are. Here's the inside of the bar. So it looks like Meanwhile it has a pretty big complex. You see here a couple of the food trucks they have. We're actually having something, look, there's a Pueblo Viejo, and you can see the complex itself, quite big. And we're actually having some coffees this morning, waiting to be allowed to drink beer. Okay, so don't be confused, but we're out here Meanwhile, by the way, still. And for those of you who may not know Texas Blue laws, you basically have to order your food first. So just want to let shout out to Kristen, who probably won't watch this, but yeah, you have to have your food ordered with the receipt before they will order you a beer. So here we are with Flatlands, which is a cream ale, not to be confused with the Panic in the Disco Room, which is a Northwest IPA, even though they look exactly the same. I'm gonna try the Flatlands now. Not much of a aroma on it. You see it's got a little bit of a head, the way they poured it. Yeah, it's really kind of blasé. It really is. There's not much flavor to it. This is their Flatlands, by the way. This is their beer. I'd probably give it a 5 because there's really just no flavor to it. It's not even, I don't even really consider it a starter beer. You know what? I'm gonna knock it down to a 4. Let's see what Rob thinks. It's drinkable, but I mean,
yeah,
it's just there.
It's just an ale.
All right, so that's a 4. Not 4 thumbs, I guess. And so now we got the Northwest IPA. I'm gonna let Rob go first because that's his beer. Northwest IPA. This is Panic in the Disco Room.
I don't know, 5 or 6.
Wow.
I mean, I can taste the hops, but not.
I can definitely smell the hops and I can taste it, but again, there's just not
a ton of distinguishable flavor.
Yes, distinguishable flavor. That's a good thing. I'm gonna give that one a 4 also. So 2 4s so far. All right, so we're going with a Rubus Cube, which is a raspberry gose, and then this is called Secret Beach. This is a San Diego style IPA. So I'm gonna do the Rubus Cube first. Definitely hint of raspberry. Just tastes like your standard raspberry fruit beer. Nothing really that exciting. I'd probably give it a 5. It's not bad. It's a little
for what it's supposed to be, I'd give it like a 6 or a 7.
All right, 6 or 7. We'll give him 6.5. He's gonna take a bite of his taco first. So this is San Diego style IPA. It's called Secret Beach. I'm gonna go ahead and try it. Definitely the hoppiness. What we also notice with these beers, at least the ones here, taking a bite of food first and then swallowing and then having a beer seems to add to the flavor. Not bad. I'd probably give it a 5.5. I'm still not, I haven't been pleasantly surprised by Meanwhile so far.
5 or 6.
Yeah, see, same. So 5 or 6, 5 or 6. Okay, so still at Meanwhile. This is the Moot Point. This is their coffee beer. Doesn't say stout, it says beer, so I don't have a warm and fuzzy about it. This is their Hazy IPA, obviously. You can look at it. This is called Blank Stare. So we're gonna try the coffee beer first. Definitely a good smell of coffee, so that's kind of a good point. You can definitely taste the coffee. Kind of reminds me of just like watered down coffee that you had. I mean, it's not bad. I'll probably give it a 6.5. Rob?
Yeah, I'd give it a 6.
All right, 6.5. He's going back for another taste. Make sure he's gonna do 6. Still a 6?
Yeah.
Still a 6. All right, so now we're gonna do the Hazy IPA. I'm gonna let him do that. I'm gonna grab some water to cleanse the palate. Now this is a really hazy IPA, as you can tell. I mean, it's like, it looks almost like grapefruit juice. That's when you know it's a good hazy IPA, or an OJ with pulp included.
This is their best one yet.
Best one yet? What do you give it?
I'll give that a 7.
All right. Definitely the normal hoppy aroma. Yeah, I think it was the best one yet. I'm gonna give it a 7 also. I think it's their best beer so far to date. So there we go. All right, last two of the day. This is Odin's Hammer, which is a Creek Hazy IPA, and this is the Wall Breaker, which is a, what is that?
It is a gin barrel aged double IPA.
Double IPA. So we're gonna go with Wall Breaker first. It's not Ball Breaker like in Porky's, but it is Wall Breaker.
You can smell the gin.
Okay, and what are you gonna give it?
I have to have another taste.
Wow, you can smell it. Totally smell the gin on. I mean, they. Is it gin?
Yeah,
it is
gin
gin.
barrel aged double IPA.
Wow, that is heavy on the gin. Wow, and that's juniper berries up the wazoo.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna give it a 6. I'm not a big fan of gin, so the juniper berries is kind of killing the beer taste for me.
No, I'm actually gonna give this a 7.5.
Oh, 7.5. Let me try it again. Maybe I'm
For what it is,
confused. Why?
for what it is, you taste the gin. You taste the juniper berries.
Wow.
And it tastes good. It has flavor.
It definitely has flavor.
A lot of the other ones did not have flavor.
I'm gonna stick at 6.5 though. So 6.5 for me, 7.5 for Rob.
I should have had this earlier, man.
You should have had this earlier, he says. Here's the Creek Hazy IPA.
It's
Kveik,
K-V-I-K.
K-V-E-I-K, Kveik. Anybody can say it better than me, please post in the comments. Oh, he's going back for a second taste. Definitely smell the hops, but they almost smell dirty.
You like them dirty.
I do, but I mean...
I'm going to give that a 6. It's not bad. It's okay.
Not bad, a little bit blander than I would expect from a hazy IPA.
The other hazy was tastier.
The other hazy was definitely better. This is Odin's Hammer. We're gonna give that a 6. So we got a 6 for the Odin's Hammer, and a 7.5 for the Wall Breaker. This is it. This is Meanwhile Brewery. All right, I know I said it was the last one, but it's now updated. So we have the Meanwhile Pilsner. We have the, what is this one?
This is the Fest Beer Marzen.
Fest Beer Marzen, and then this is their
Small Victories Galaxy
Small
IPA.
Victories Galaxy IPA. Galaxy is a type of hops. So let's go to the Pilsner first.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Pilsner. Go ahead.
This is their top seller.
This is supposedly their top seller here at Meanwhile, which again, I haven't been impressed so far. The highest we've gotten is 7.5, and that was for their gin aged barrel IPA.
I I'm gonna give this a 7.
Okay.
For a pilsner, it's a fucking pilsner. It's good.
It's a pilsner,
good
but
for
it's a fucking pilsner.
But it's supposed. It is what it's supposed to be. It's a pilsner. It tastes just like a pilsner.
It tastes just like a pilsner, but I can't give a pilsner a higher than a 6. So I'm gonna go with the 6 on this one. All right. So then we're gonna go to the Marzen. This is a Marzen. Oh, he's got to go back for a second swig.
7 for a Marzen.
Oh, it's a 7.
For a Marzen, it's a Marzen.
No real aroma.
It tastes like a Marzen.
Yeah, it's definitely a Marzen. I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6 because it is what they are, and they taste like what they are, but they're not wowing me. So there's a 6 and a 6. I can't give it a 7. 7 is a wow. So now we're gonna do the Galaxy IPA. Oh, he's thinking about it. Oh, he's confused. I don't know if he's confused because it's good or because it's bad.
No, it's not bad. It's a 6.
Oh, it's a 6. There we go.
Not their best IPA, but it's an IPA.
Again, this is what an IPA should taste like, but again, not anything fantastic. I'm gonna give it a 6 also. So 666, number of the beast, and there we are. So that's what we got. This was our tour of Meanwhile Brewery. Okay, so a couple of notes on that. That was Meanwhile Brewery out in South Austin. We had a good time there. A great location. They had some really good trucks, food trucks. The other two, by the way, started up right around noon. And that was Pueblo Viejo that we had the tacos from. Really great chorizo tacos, by the way. Yes, I say chorizo. You could say chorizo too, but either way works. And it had that orange juice. And if you've had a good chorizo taco, you know what I'm talking about. So it was good tacos. I can't have a lot of them these days, but every now and then is good, and it was great. The beers, I just want to tell, in case anybody from Meanwhile is watching or has fans of Meanwhile, the scale is from 1 thumb to 10 thumbs, so 5 and 5, or you can leave 4 or 5. There's 10 right there. Six is not bad. 4, of course, it's below 5. It's below average, below half actually. 6 is not bad. We had a couple of 7s. They do well on what they say it is. Like you saw in the video, a Pilsner is a Pilsner, and a Marzen is a Marzen, and the Gose, a Raspberry Gose, is just what you would expect from a Raspberry Gose. Maybe my palate is now a little tainted. Maybe Rob's is too, a little tainted. Just, nothing super wowed us. The gin IPA that's aged in gin barrels, that is good. That was good. I'm not a big fan of gin, so I think I gave it a 6 or a 6.5. But Rob really liked it. It was flavorful. So. Perhaps our palate has now moved from where we were. I know mine has moved from where it was a year and a bit ago, especially when we talk about all those beers. Otherwise, it was solid, good, solid beer. By the way, for my mother, those were 8-ounce pours, ma. So the glass was probably that big. I know I had it up close, so it looks like they may have been bigger than they were. They were just 8 ounces, and Rob and I were sharing. We weren't having one of each beer. We were having 2 beers, and then we would split the 8 ounces. So I'll let her do the math on that. Plus, we had something to eat, so so that always helps. That always keeps you on the straight and narrow. Wasn't overall wasn't bad. Like I said, the location was great. The food trucks were great, and the beers weren't bad. There was one that I gave it a 4. I wasn't real happy with it, but 5 and 6 and a couple as high as 7.5. So it's across the board. You can't always have fantastic beers, and we found that over the years, over the times that Rob and I have gone to different breweries, and other people have joined us. You can't always find you can't always have winner. Perhaps we'll go and visit them again in season 3. Yes, I'm already talking season 3. I have been signed on to do a season 3. And so we'll visit them again and see what we think about their beers again. So don't lose hope. Meanwhile, remember this is just me, just Javier in the air, my brother Robert. That's two people. I'm sure you have people that have great reviews. If you'd like to send us a note about it and perhaps maybe do another tasting where I have someone from Meanwhile walk us through the beer process and why we should expect something different from than what we did, or maybe we missed out on some of the subtle notes that were there that we just didn't find this morning. So again, there's a lot of variables going on there. So I'm not picking on you guys. I'm not dragging you through the mud. I'm just simply giving my honest review, and Rob was giving his honest review of the beers that we had today. So if anybody would like to join us on a beer run, as we like to say, on a Sunday morning or even on the Saturday morning, Saturday mid-afternoon, Saturday afternoon, pretty much anytime on a Saturday. We're getting back to that point now where we can go out there. Masks are still enforced, which I totally agree with. So that's a good thing. We want to keep our social distance where we can. Plenty of social distance. And meanwhile, groups were less than 10 and they were staying to themselves. And everybody was masked up when they weren't sitting down and drinking or eating, which is what business is called for right now. So if anybody would like to join us, though, anybody knows of a brewery that's either nearby or relatively driving distance, so that we can get it on this week's podcast. If you want to go somewhere further out, just let me know and we can probably figure something out, and then it would have to be on 2 weeks podcast. But certainly we can do it, and we might start throwing some other things in there. So that is it for the podcast. I said it was going to be extra long, but it's really not. It turned out to be right around the time that I like to have the podcast in. So the question that I was going to bring up for everyone is this: what would you like to see me do on the air within reason? Would you like to see me learn a new skill? Would you like to see me um, go out somewhere that I hadn't been before and try something new and interesting? Try some new food, but within a certain reason. I like to call myself a foodie, but I'm really not. There are a lot of things that I am just not going to eat. But if there's an eatery that you want me to go to, I will certainly go to it and then see what I can get there. I might bring one or two people along so that we can expand our palates and try out different. Would you like to see me interview more of the Pavlovskis? Would you like to see me interview more of the Takashitas? Would you like to see me bring back somebody that I haven't brought back yet? I will be interviewing more people. I will be interviewing somebody for next week. I'm not sure who it is yet, but I am doing my best to get people on here to interview. As we go back to a sense of normalcy, it has become harder to get people to interview because they're out and about doing things. It's beginning to get crazy out there again as far as the traffic goes, day in, day out, because people are able to move around within certain guidelines, but they're doing it, and the economy is beginning to slightly bounce back. So, question is, what would you like to see me do on this podcast? I'm still trying to get some guest hosts in so that we can have some feedback. I'd like to have somebody here with me as we do certain things so that we can see another person's point of view. So answer me back, send me an email, telegraph, carrier pigeon, smoke signals, or maybe even a direct message through Facebook or direct message here on YouTube. So for somebody who was asked me the question about drones last week, I'm just getting back to you now. I'm going to answer you here on the YouTube on my podcast. So there are certain rules and regulations when it comes to drones. Nowadays, if you are over a certain size of drone and you are over a certain weight, you are supposed to, by obligation, register with the FAA. I will see if I can find that link again and post it either here or on the next podcast. But there are guidelines that you have to do. Just like the guidelines I set for myself, where I said I'm only going to do certain things, I'm only going to go over certain areas. I am not going to intrude on people's privacy. I'm not going to go into their backyards unless they ask me to. And again, that's giving direct permission to do it. So for that, it's best to check I will try to get a link in there. And so, but enjoy your drone. Learn how to fly. Let me know how it goes for you. It's been an adventure for me. You got to see a lot of the videos. I'll probably have a video next week of me droning. And I don't mean droning on, I mean drone. I hope everyone had a good weekend. It was fantastic out there. I was able to get a lot of projects in this week. Here's to your projects, and here's to everything that you're doing, that got going on in your life. I hope you had fun with it this weekend. I hope you enjoyed Rob and I out at Meanwhile Brewery. We will, as like I said, as we go back to more normalcy, I will continue to be out there at the breweries more and more. So have a good week, and I will see everybody this time next week. Thanks a lot, everybody. Turn me on.